The comments and views expressed on The Moore Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The Moore Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be with you today.
It is my pleasure to have you on. I don't get many... Do you like the word guru?
It's okay. I prefer spiritual teacher.
Spiritual teacher, yeah. Okay, well, I get a lot of spiritual teachers on, but... not anyone that's got the master in front of them. How did that name come about?
The name actually was my given name first. I was raised in the southern part of the United States, and because my father's name was also Charles, in that part of the country, they don't refer to you as Charles Jr., they refer to you as Master Charles. So that name was given to me as a small child by an African-American nanny that my family had. And usually when you grow up, you lose that title, and you just become your given name, Charles. But in this case, it kind of became a family nickname. And I was always called Master Charles, or MC for short. And then many years later, when I became a disciple to a great guru, a great master, after many years, one day he said to me, "What was your name?" And I said, "After all this time, you don't remember my name?" And he said, no, your original name. I said, my original name was Charles. He said, no, it was Master Charles. And I said, yes, it was. And he said, that's your real name. You are a master. You are a master spiritual teacher. So in that context, the name has been with me from my earliest years and resulted in the title, as it were, that I currently have as a master spiritual teacher.
Okay, wonderful. What was life like growing up then? I mean, what sort of subjects were you into? Were you always very much into spirituality in a sense? Was that a draw for you? Tell us.
Well, I was sort of a born mystic. From my earliest years, from around the age of 3, I began to experience what is known as apparition. And this was the apparition of the divine feminine archetype, or what people know as the Divine Mother, the Blessed Mother, that is found in all religious traditions. And this apparition began to appear to me when I was 3 years old. It was just a beautiful light that would appear at the end of the bed. I would wake up in the night and see this light hovering there, and then progressively the light became brighter, and out of it emerged this image of the Blessed Mother, and she became my foremost or earliest or primary teacher imparting to me the basic principles of what we would call a holistic spirituality or holistic models of reality that posit that there is only one source, one consciousness, one God, the unity in diversity. And this was a very beautiful presence. It wasn't frightening in any way to a small child. It was a very loving, motherly, nurturing sort of energy that was also very expansive to one's awareness. It shifted your perception of reality, made everything dance and sparkle with light, and carried a kind of opiating, intoxicating, blissful euphoria with it. And so I wasn't afraid. I was kind of mesmerized and entranced by it. And this continued all through my formative years and all through my life, and continues even to the present day. And in many ways, I'm known for that experience in a mystical context. So that was my earliest awakening, let's say, into the more mystical spiritual levels of experience, and sort of became my primary enculturated value for a holistic spirituality or a mystical perspective in terms of who I am and what life is. It formed the backdrop of all my subsequent experience.
So let me get this right. Okay, so that experience, you were almost like being given information, spiritual teachings, and you say that's. Could you draw that entity, that essence, into your life now to communicate with that energy? And is that possible nowadays, or was it just for the childhood that entity was there and that's now disappeared?
No, it continued all through my life and continues into the present. When I go to my meditation room every morning and sit to meditate, often that apparitional manifestation appears, and there is an interaction. Yes, I can communicate with her in that context, as well as sometimes it's just the presence, that very elevating, expansive, beautiful, blissful presence that represents what I call true reality, or the experience of life as but a blissful, happy, loving, benevolent, beautiful energy that's the substratum, the ground of being of all and everything. And it's taken me, of course, many years to understand it and to translate it, let's say, into a context relevant to the modern world and the times in which we live, to take it out of a religious context and to look at it more as, for example, Jung did in terms of archetypal consciousness. There are many archetypes in consciousness that we all experience that become parts of our journey. And this, for me, is the very well-known divine feminine archetype, which represents the creation, the manifestations of life, all the forms of consciousness in 50 billion simultaneous universes that we are aware of. And it is that principle of inclusion, that all and everything is, in essence, the same consciousness, and that you as a form, a human form of that consciousness, are the same consciousness, because in truth there is only one. And I for whatever reasons in my unconscious database or in my cellular history, have journeyed that archetype and personify it and represent it to myself in this way. So for me, it is my personal, individual experience of ultimate reality or truthful reality that I simply am able to project out of myself and personify in that way that has meaning and value to me.
So you could say that does this entity have a name? Did you mention a name?
No, I've always referred to her as Blessed Mother.
Blessed Mother. Okay, let's refer to her to that. So the Blessed Mother, that could be coming from your higher self, in a sense, or through your higher self. This Blessed Mother is obviously imparting spiritual information. Has the Blessed Mother contributed to the books that you've written as well?
Not directly, as in, dictating content, and yet all that I have been taught through that archetype becomes part and parcel of my database, my philosophy of life, and thus is represented in all the teachings and subsequent books that I've written.
Right. So yeah, okay. How did your parents take that when they were told that you were connecting with the Blessed Mother? Were they very supportive that okay, our son's connecting with something that's maybe greater than himself, let's just support him and let him go through that, and it's got to be better than not connecting with it?
Very good. You're very intuitive. Very early on in the apparitional experience, she said to me that I should keep it secret, that I shouldn't share this experience with anyone but my mother. And I found that interesting. Of course, I was raised in a Catholic family, so there were, icons of the Virgin Mother of Catholicism around, and that I was exposed to, that I could relate to. And my mother, as a Catholic woman, was very devoted to the Virgin Mary, or that divine feminine archetype within the Catholic tradition. And so when I shared it with my mother, she was very nurturing of me, very supportive, and said, "Oh, that's absolutely wonderful, how blessed you are. You aren't afraid, are you?" And I said, "No, I'm not afraid. It's a very beautiful experience." And she just delighted in it with me and made it a very welcoming and affirmative experience, and shared it with me throughout her whole life. And she lived until she was 96 years old and only passed a couple of years ago, but remained very supportive and aligned with me in that experience.
Do you think others are able to ask you questions on behalf of the Blessed Mother, to ask her questions that they feel that they could get some healing from issues in their life? Is that available, that conduit between yourself and Blessed Mother, in a sense?
It's available, but not something that I have really presented in any way. Sort of, to me, more like a consultant. If I have questions or insight is needed into some aspect of my experience in relation to someone else, that information would be shared with me, but it's not something that I make publicly available.
Why would you need a teacher if you had Blessed Mother there, in a sense? If you had your own phone back to the source where we come from and all answers were available for you, why the teacher for you then? And did the teachings of anybody that you came in contact with go against what the Blessed Mother was telling you?
Well, this is a very appropriate question, because it's the question I asked of her when it was presented to me. And this was in my right around the age of 2021, when one day she said to me, "I'm sending you to a teacher." And I said, "Why?" you're my teacher. You've always been my teacher. And she said, yes, I am your teacher, but you must see and experience the enlightened state of being in another human being. It must be modeled for you in that way, or you will not be able to fully understand it. And she encouraged me to just trust, as I always had, in what she had shared with me, and it would explain itself as it unfolded. And shortly thereafter, this teacher, this Indian guru, came into my life. She told me exactly who it would be, and gave me the name, which was very foreign to me. And then within a very short time after that, he appeared in my life, and he appeared in a very mystical way. I had some friends who had a business in India, and they traveled back and forth, and often we would meet after their travels, and they would, share their experience. And at this time, they had visited many different gurus or masters in India, and were very captivated by one of them. And they asked me if I'd like to see a photograph of him. And they showed me the photograph, and it was a little kind of shrine photograph. It had a couple of flaps over it, and you opened it up, and there was the photo of this master, this guru, in a kind of blessing pose. And I opened the photograph and looked at it, and it was as if my eyes locked onto it in a way that I had no volitional control thereafter. My eyes became just fixed on that photograph, and then it dissolved into energy, swirling, dancing, luminous energy that moved out of the photograph and entered my third eye, the proverbial third eye, and then expanded my awareness exponentially and entranced me for the next 4 or 5 hours. And during that experience, I experienced very powerfully all that the Blessed Mother had taught me over those years of the, indeed, oneness of life. I could perceive everything as but the play of one consciousness, the dance of one blissful, beautiful, loving, benevolent energy. And I was entranced in that radical awakening experience for, as I said, several hours with that photograph. And then as it came to its completion, the energy came back out of my third eye and into that photograph. And I was sort of sitting there looking at it again, that my volitional control had sort of been returned. And my friends just had stayed with me the whole time and just said, we know that something very profound just happened to you, because we could feel it as well. And we obviously know you have some connection to this man. And I said, oh, by the way, what is his name? And they said his name is Baba Muktananda. And that was the name that Blessed Mother had given me as to the one who would be this master teacher to me. And so in a very short time thereafter, wow, I journeyed to India to meet him in person. And when I first got there and came before him and was introduced to him, he just looked at me and he said, "Ah, you've come. I've been waiting for you. She told me you were coming."
Wow. Wow. My gosh. What a confirmation that must have been. And I guess you never really needed ayahuasca. You just needed to be at the right place at the right time and be open to the wonders of the universe when it connects people. So he had connections with Blessed Mother, and just going back to Blessed Mother. I mean, that's just a name that that's been given to this energy that you're working with. Others call it different names, I mean, you're in Virginia Beach. The Edgar Cayce ARE Center is just not too far away from you. Edgar Cayce, would connect to this greater aspect of himself. There's all different ways to get there, isn't there? This is just your way, and this is what's worked for you. I'm guessing that whatever you're connecting with, I mean, you call it Blessed Mother, and that's a beautiful name. You guys have, there's obviously some connection there and a soul lineage. There must be for you to come into this life right now and have that connection. There must have been some sort of maybe preordained thing that was going to happen in this lifetime.
Absolutely. I look at these connections that we have as part and parcel of what I would call our cellular history. And my experience is that human experience is not a one-off experience, that we're not just having this one cycle of life and based on it we're finished, but rather that there are many cycles of life that an individual soul journeys, and that we carry the database of those journeys. And again, according to Jung, we have those archetypal patterns that sort of represent the particulars of the journeys that we take, and we kind of journey an archetype or two or three archetypes through the whole of our cellular journeys. And of course that in the classical traditions is represented as reincarnation and often depicted as returning again and again to human experience. But I find that kind of old and outdated, because at the time those philosophies originated, they didn't know of anything more than planet Earth and a very limited aspect of planet Earth. And so they understood that, yes, it was an ongoing experience. You couldn't journey it all in one life cycle. And so to represent that, they assumed that you would have to come back to human experience, because that's all they knew. But now, with modern science and quantum mechanics and the 50 billion simultaneous universes, etc., it seems apparent to me that we wouldn't keep repeating the same experience over and over again, that there are 50 billion universes of forms in which a soul could journey, and that being human is just one of them. So in that sense, being human may be a one-off experience, and yet there is this ongoing journey through many cycles of life in many different forms of consciousness, in many different universes. But that primary archetype that our soul relates to remains the dominant theme and the dominant, let's say, blueprint of those journeys.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if our souls split into many parts and we're having multiple incarnations at the same time in multiple places, and who knows, maybe this is a bit like that movie Groundhog Day. We keep even having the choice to come back to this particular life if we wanted to, and do it again and do it differently. Who knows what what the soul or what the essence of experience is looking for. But even the taste of milk chocolate is just as important as becoming a world leader. Everything in between there is just as important for experience. It's almost like we're having experience, and we're trying to put words on what this thing is that we look through our eyes, and we're able to have consciousness in just looking through our eyes and seeing this amazing experience. I mean, what is that? That's looking through my eyes. Is it more than my brain? Is it my consciousness? If so, is consciousness local? What can exploring the realms of consciousness teach us about living a better present moment right now? That's what I like about spiritual teachings, is that what in those teachings helps us live in the most happiest moment right now, in the most fulfilled, in the most empowered. And I think that comes to finding one's truth and living one's passion. So if I turn that towards yourself, are you living your passion? And this is just your truth, right?
Absolutely. It is my passion and always has been my passion, and it is my truth, as you say. And there are many paths that lead to the mountaintop. The mountaintop is the same for all the paths that get to it, so all paths are valid. But I believe, based on my experience and my studies in some of the ancient wisdom traditions and different philosophies of life, that basically we as souls or individuated consciousnesses are here to evolve through experience, to grow in truthful awareness, to experience that indeed there is only one, that it's all a unity in diversity, and that essence, that substratum, that ground of being is, yes, consciousness, a very conscious energy, but also it is life energy. And I think that's the simplest way to relate to this philosophy of one. And it's as simple as looking into your eyes in this moment and recognizing that what looks back at me is the same life that empowers me, that empowers all and everything in 50 billion simultaneous universes. We share the journey of life, and that life, in essence, is a self-delighting energy. It is content within itself, and thus it is a loving, happy, peaceful, benevolent energy. And the more we connect with that, and the more we expand our awareness of it and live in the constant wakefulness of it, the more fulfilled we are in our experience as human beings, whatever that experience might be. So in that understanding, then, we're really all on the same path. We're on the path of life and the path of growing into the fullness, the wholeness of life lived truthfully and wakefully.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, I hear you, and I feel your truth, and I guess we're all on different paths. We've all come here for different reasons. I guess that if we want to change the world, the best place to start, maybe the only place to start, is to change ourselves. Change ourselves, live our passion, be true to ourselves. We change the world around us because it's just a natural side effect of that. But obviously, myself and yourself, we come from caring for each other. Like, I'm not going to, reach out if I could do and harm you, and nor would I want to do that. So there's something called love that we have for each other. We don't even know each other, yeah, but we do on a soul level. So when a soul comes here and commits a terrorist attack, and you've been through one as well, you've been through the Mumbai terrorist attack, you lost two colleagues, I think one of them was only very young as well, and we'll get into this, but these attacks are going on now. We've just had the Berlin attack, in the market. But then again, look at what's going on in the world. There's lots of unreported atrocities in Syria going on right now, and everything else. So why are some souls so switched off to their own self purposefully for them to have that experience of hurting someone else, so that maybe someone else can then choose in that given moment how they're going to respond to being injured, how they're going to respond to that moment?
Absolutely. I think that most importantly, we have to understand that, yes, we are here to evolve, to grow through life experience, and then that all experience is valid, not only our own. So the experience of the terrorist is valid, the experience of the murderer is valid, as well as the experience of the greatest enlightened being who has ever walked this planet. is valid, and everything in between. So we can't invalidate anyone's experience, but we can understand that all experience that we encounter places us at choice. In other words, life happens. The happenings of consciousness are the experience that we have, but in relation to the happenings of life, moment by moment, day by day, whatever you encounter, who are you choosing to be? And that was the perspective that I had during the Mumbai terrorist experience, in which two of my very close associates were murdered, a father and his 13-year-old daughter, and four of our other members of the group were seriously injured, as well as we were all held captive for 3 days. But I had to look at that and say, okay, Mr. Terrorist, you represent an experience in consciousness, a happening of life that I can't understand. But I have to acknowledge that it is valid for you. It is your cellular path in ways that I can't understand. And it represents the negation of life. It represents fear. It represents violence, all of which is very foreign to me. But I first have to allow you to have your experience because it's valid for you. But then I have to look at myself and say, okay, who do I choose to be in relation to you? I can embrace your experience and make it my own. I can fill myself with hatred and negativity and revenge and violence, and then I become your disciple and you become my teacher. Or I can say, no, wait a minute. That experience is appropriate for you in ways that I can't understand, but it's not who I'm going to choose to be for myself. I'm rather going to choose love. I'm going to choose compassion. I'm going to choose kindness. I'm going to choose forgiveness. I'm going to fill myself with that experience, and it'll be my contribution to our world. And in that understanding, then, we are each the creator of our experience, and we bear the consequences of that creation because we're responsible in our choices. So forgiveness, then, is not condonement. It is rather just a choice that I make to fill myself with the greatest truth that I know and to make that my contribution to our world. And there will be consequences to that experience just as there are consequences for the terrorist to his or her experience. So again, in that way, we are always at choice in relation to the happenings of life. Who do we choose to be is the most important question.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what that was like for you back in 2008, to be held up for those many days and to have to go through such fear, anger, panic, loss, just, really deep stuff. But do you think that was a blessing in disguise for you in a sense? Had you had a lifetime where you really got to feel your emotions, got to feel anger, fear? Do you know where I'm going with this? That maybe had they given you an experience that, as a collective group that you were with, that you needed?
Yes, of course. All experience is growthful for you. It takes you into the dimensions of life experience that are vast and varied. It wasn't the first time that I had experienced fear or the possibility of physical death. I mean, we didn't know in the next moment if the door to the room would be blown open and that would be the end of it. I mean, the hotel that we were in was constantly being bombed. It was on fire. We had to put out fires. We had to be in survival mode for several days until these terrorists were taken out, and we were rescued. So yes, it moved us through the gamut of very primal human experience. The fight or flight response is very primal. And yet, simultaneous to moving through that, we were all lifelong meditators. And we had developed what is called in meditative understanding witness consciousness. In other words, we could maintain a detached observation of the experience that we were having, and therefore remained true to our practice. It came through for us in big ways. And also, remember my experience of the apparition. Well, it didn't abandon me during that terrorist experience. Very early on in the experience, her face appeared to me and just hovered there in the room. And all she said to me was, "Trust and watch." Well, that was very meaningful to me, because trust meant trust in the consciousness that you are the consciousness that is all and everything. It is orchestrating the show, and through this experience you will grow, you will learn, you will evolve. And watch means remain as detached in witness consciousness as you can possibly be. And that face, that apparitional face, periodically appeared to me throughout that ordeal and just maintained my focus, so that, yes, there was the primal adrenaline and fight and flight response that was there, and yet I could manage it in a more mystical or truthful context of experience. So yes, it was a powerful experience through which we all grew in that context. And yet, at the end of it, after we were rescued and transferred to another hotel, the State Department of the United States came to us and supplied us with everything that we needed to nurture us at that time. And one of the important things was a psychiatrist who was a specialist in post-traumatic stress and war zones and experiences of violence and terrorism. And he met with each of us in the group, and he met with me last. And when he came to me, he said, "Okay, here are the parameters of what this experience is going to be like for you psychologically over the next 2 years. You'll go through this, you'll go through this," and they gave you very detailed time frames and what to expect from a psychological perspective. But at the end of it, he said, "You know, I've met with all your people, and what I have to say to you is you're going to do very well with this because of your meditative lifestyle and history. You're not going to have the classic post-traumatic stress syndrome that most people have." And you know, he was absolutely correct that overall in the group we had very little post-traumatic stress syndrome, again, that we attribute to our holistic lifestyle and our years of meditative practice.
And that says so much. That speaks volumes. That really does. And with the meditation, it always gives you a greater sense of clarity. Now, I'm not going to sit here and opposite you and say, I meditate, because I don't meditate, which is something I'm trying to work on, right? But your story fills me with I channel, but I don't meditate. Maybe that's when I channel, maybe now and then, maybe that's a meditative state for me. It could be. But I think as a daily practice, what it shows here is that, 160 people were killed in this terrorist attack, and 2 from your party. And I think if it wasn't for the support of the meditation and as I say, that clarity that it gave you, and your spiritual teachings, you would have seen this from a completely different perspective. And it's just, it still amazes me that you had to go through this experience, that maybe, we choose our reality, we create our reality. I keep getting told that, and it's difficult because when I try to put myself into your shoes, I'm like, well, why would he create this for? What would an enlightened person need this experience for? Have you asked yourself that question?
Absolutely so. And I believe the most important answer is that you have to be able to experience the truth in all contexts of life, not just the context of life that you would like to experience. You have to recognize that truth in all experience, from the most violent to the most peaceful and everything in between, or your quote-unquote enlightenment isn't really valid. If a little experience of violence throws you off your base, then you would have to question your experience and say, wait a minute, is it at all real? But if in all circumstances of life you can maintain that truthful experience, then through it you grow again. You become even more substantiated in that ground of being and that truthful experience of life. So yes, indeed, I did question myself and look at it, but the answer that I always came to is what I just shared with you.
Yeah. No, it must have been a gift for you. And I know that's difficult for some people to hear that when 160 lives were lost. I mean, my heart goes out to them. It does. I mean, to sit here to say I don't care, well, of course I care. I care about any attacks that happen or anyone that's in pain. Anyone that's sensitive does care. But, there's always a spiritual angle on this. I always say that to myself. Well, 51 minutes is just not enough. We've barely scratched the surface here. Okay, well let's try to move this then into your latest book, Living an Awakened Life: The Lessons of Love. Just tell us a little bit about this book and why this book now.
At the end of the previous book that I wrote about the Mumbai terrorist experience, which was called Forgiving the Unforgivable, in the epilogue, I wrote that the bottom line for me, if I was to express it in the most succinct way, is this: that we're here to learn how to love. And for me, that means that love is love with a capital L. Love as essence. Love as the very nature of the conscious life energy that we are, that is all and everything. And we have to learn to awaken to that and to more fully recognize it as the basis of our experience and the basis of all and everything. So in that sense, we are here to learn how to love, to first find that love and grow it and nurture it and experience it constantly in ourselves, and then to recognize that same love, that same essence in all and everyone and everything that we encounter. And that, of course, is based on an awakening experience, or what I call the awakening impulse in consciousness itself. And we all move through an awakening experience. Some have it more profound than others, but I think we can all say that there are experiences in our life journeys that awaken us, that expand our awareness. And the more we awaken them, the more awake we are to the experience of life as one consciousness, to the unity within all diversity. Proportional to our awakening, or our awakenings, is an ever expansive, holistic, and inclusive awareness that allows us to live more truthfully in terms of the oneness of life and its innate peace and bliss and love. So this book, Living an Awakened Life, addresses that context of life, how to live in wakefulness and remain more consistent in the experience of true reality. It's sort of like acknowledging that perhaps for a long part of our lives we've lived in a dream, and we've been asleep, and what we thought was real isn't real at all. We're lost in a virtual reality that we create with our minds and our beliefs and our stories about who we are and what life is. And then we have this awakening experience, and it's like that. It's like awakening from a dream. A whole nother reality appears, and you say, I've been asleep and I've been dreaming, but now I'm awake. Wow, this is a completely different ball game. What a play of consciousness. I am so much more. Life is so much more than I ever thought it could be. That's awakened experience, and it is a very blissful experience because that's the nature of true reality. And the more you awaken to that, the more fulfilling is your life experience. So that's why this book, Living an Awakened Life, The Lessons of Love.
Well, thank you so much for what you've just shared with us just there. I mean, I can feel myself saying that there's another interview to come here, because there's just not enough time to get into these such deep questions and such meaningful answers that you're giving us. I think an awakened person to me is someone that's, as I've said before, living their passion, someone who chooses in any given moment how they're going to react to a situation. And it's okay if people want to react with anger. I mean, I've got no issue with saying that someone's not awakened if they're going to react with anger. I wouldn't say deny any emotions. I don't think that's being spiritually awakened to me, to deny anything. But it's really just come down to, did the act that I just performed, maybe, right? How much did that come from love?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the awakened perspective. And the awakened perspective is also living in the now, living fully present to the happening of life as one consciousness. And that, in the classical traditions, was referred to as the eternal now. And that's important because our experience of life is only ever here and now. We don't breathe yesterday. We don't live tomorrow. Our only experience of life is it's happening here and now. So in this very moment, the question is, who am I? Am I aware that I am the happening, the expression of life, of blissful consciousness, of loving consciousness right here and right now? To me, that's what wakefulness is. And if you are awake within the now, you are fully alive. And being alive now is the awakened or wakeful experience, because living in the now is true reality. The experience of life that we have is only ever here and now. We don't breathe yesterday. We don't live tomorrow. We live and breathe right here and right now. And if we are awake within the eternal now of consciousness happening, of life happening, it totally changes our perception of reality, and we experience true reality rather than a virtual reality that's distorted by our minds and our stories about what's happening here and now. So this is the primary principle of an awakened life, is how present can you be, how fully alive in the momentary happening of life, and then if you are, how fully can you unveil your innate love, your innate bliss, your innate peace, which is the very nature of the consciousness that you are, that is all and everything. So living an awakened life then is living fully alive in the here and now happening of life and living it with great joy and great bliss and great fulfillment as a result.
And going and what you're describing there for me is as well. I mean, I love present moment, but that's also kind of saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, going with the flow. And going with the flow doesn't mean that you don't plan for future things, for future events. I mean, you've got goals maybe you want to achieve, but as long as you're in the present moment, living your passion, you can still walk that path forward. And with an attunement to where are things that you'd like to pull into your life with no attachments to the outcome, maybe.
Yes, absolutely. Goals or plans or whatever are happening in the now.
In the now.
And as long as you recognize that they're happening in the now, they are the expression of your consciousness here and now, yet within that experience that includes all your goals, your thoughts, of everything that is happening, you are aware that you are the expression of consciousness here and now. And if you have that wakeful, holistic awareness, then you are able to maintain its innate qualities of love and peace and happiness and bliss.
And sometimes, you may go through a lifetime not being able to get to that point. Or you may get it to that point at the very end of your life. And guess what? It matters not. It matters not. You may be watching this and it doesn't resonate because you just, you're not able to allow yourself to go to that space, or you maybe, it sounds good, but you just don't want to even give it a go. But that's okay. You have to go with what feels right for you. Go with your own truth. And if your own truth is you're happier with the pain side a little bit, then you've got to keep going down that road. It's your it's your journey. You do what you want. But these are just some suggestions we're making in this show that could make the present moment so much more fulfilling. And this book does that most definitely. And there's so much in this book that we've not covered. Now, one part of the book as well, you do talk about, the book just referred to, the urgency of the times that we live in now. I always find that this is difficult for me because, the urgency now is there. You can feel that there's times have changed, and and we'll get into what you feel is the urgency as the last question. But if we choose to come here to have an experience, then others have chose the same thing, and the others are choosing to make the path the opposite, to call in for the urgency in the first place. That doesn't mean that we sit and do nothing, does it?
Absolutely not. We look at the world that is surrounding us, and we acknowledge that we are each a part of this collective consciousness that we are all sharing and journeying through our choices. And if you look at the world today, it's a very precarious place. We have to come to some greater validity in terms of what our ultimate value is. And for me, that is simply the value for the life we all share. In that understanding, life is sacred and must become ultimate value, because without it, we have nothing. And as we look at the world today, we don't yet have life as ultimate value. And until we do, we will keep threatening ourselves with the possible destruction of ourselves and our world. So to me, we have to express that value of life, we have to educate that value for life, and we have to nurture that in ourselves and make it our contribution as much as possible. And that, to me, is the urgency of these times. For me, also, it's like this is a very primitive place. this planet Earth and this human experience. We like to believe that we're so modern and we're so advanced and we're so evolved,
Right.
but really, in terms of our values, we are very primitive. We're still anchored dominantly in the egocentric levels of consciousness, which create this illusion of separation and difference that is exactly that, an illusion. And we have to grow, we have to evolve to more trans-egoic levels of experience where that illusion of separation dissolves and we recognize and experience the oneness of life that we all share. So the journey is valid as we are getting there, but the urgency of our times is to move more and more to that trans-egoic level. Otherwise, we could very possibly annihilate ourselves and our world, and that would speak for itself. So again, how much can we increase our value for the life we all share, without which we have nothing?
Yeah. Yeah, such powerful, powerful words. Okay, just to let people know as well, you've got a really nice YouTube channel. I've seen the videos, and I think what you're doing on there is fantastic, embracing, modern digital media to get the message out there. So we're going to link your YouTube channel onto this video as well. Your books have been coming up on the screen throughout this interview. Just remind us, for podcast version, your website is?
The website is synchronicity.org, O-R-G, and it is our main platform. Everything about me and my world of synchronicity can be experienced there.
Okay. I just wish we had more time. I feel that I've barely given this interview justice because of some of the great teachings that are still locked within you right now, right? But I will get you back on, because this has been a very empowering interview, as the last interview just before Christmas. More empowering than I thought it was going to be. Actually, it's beautiful to hear your truth. And what would you like to give as a final message to the audience?
The final message, I think, is always that a message from the Epilogue of Forgiving the Unforgivable that became the basis of this new book, Living an Awakened Life, which is, we're here to learn how to love. So first, nurture that love as the nature, the essence of true reality of consciousness of life. Nurture it in yourself, and then experience and recognize that same love, that same life in everyone and everything that you encounter. And in this way, you will not only grow yourself, but you will make an incredible contribution to the world that surrounds you.
Well, Master Charles Cannon, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been beautiful to have you on, and I look forward to getting you back on again, and just thank you for doing what you do in the world.
Thank you, Kevin. It's been my pleasure to be with you, and thank you for an excellent interview.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.com, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.